Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Black Clover. Last time around, the 5 Spirit Guardians. So we all went to the Heart Kingdom to get training, and everyone has been set about by their different Spirit Guardians to train. A lot of them are learning magic words specifically to enhance their magic, and Asta, who obviously can't do that, is currently sparring with Gaja to see where he is currently so that they can formulate a better curriculum, I guess, for him. So, yeah, that is pretty much where we left off. Also, my hair's gone. It happens. I'm going to be saying that in like every video from this week, just so I can help you guys get over the shock. The shock that, I just felt like it, so I'm going to be saying that in almost every video this week, so if you watch multiple videos on the channel, then, sorry, it's going to be a little repetitive. There's also something else that's going to be a little bit repetitive, but we're going to get to that at the top of the next episode. So, like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right into this episode of Black Clover. Here we go. You shine like a diamond. Why do you call out Yuno? What's that about? Oh, good grief. I love that this is exactly what I thought the Spade Kingdom looked like. Because I was like, well, it's further north, and I was like, I bet you it looks like the opening of Final Fantasy VI. I'm not even that far into Final Fantasy VI, but I was like, I bet you it's exactly like that. Sure enough, I swear, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. I don't know nothing now. So, that's crazy. Yuno. Why is Yuno from the Spade Kingdom? We don't know where Asta and Yuno are from. You know? Like, they were dropped off in Hague Village as babies. That's all we know. Oh boy. But maybe you get the boy with no magic and the boy from another kingdom. Maybe Yuno is from the Spade Kingdom. Oh boy. So, also interesting stuff. Yami and Asta both basically kind of did what the other one does, you know? So, Asta concentrated his anti-magic into the Dweller Sword, which created a beam, which is a lot like the Lightless Slash that Yami uses. And then Yami's black hole seemed to be nullifying mana. So, maybe dark magic and anti-magic are closer than we thought, which, I mean, it makes sense. They've been hinting at that, you know? They've been hinting at that for a while, you know, at least since they fought Ron the Devil. So yeah, it makes sense that it's like, you know, because that was pretty much the only thing that could hurt Ron the Devil back during that fight was Asta's anti-magic, and then we eventually saw that Yami's dark magic could do that too. I guess maybe that could be a question of, is there some sort of tie? I mean, the thing is, you know, we see the world map. We've got the Diamond Kingdom, the Clover Kingdom. Okay, well, hang on. Let me do it from your perspective. We've got the Diamond Kingdom, we've got the Clover Kingdom, we've got the Heart Kingdom, and then above all of them is the Spade Kingdom. However, of those 4 countries, none of those are where Yami is from. He's implied to be from, you know, this world's version of Japan, essentially. But we don't know where that is. We don't see where that is. It's clearly somewhere very far because he didn't just go back home, you know? He didn't just return to his own country, so it is somewhat far. I mean, I suppose there's the idea, kind of like with Avatar, where, you know, in Avatar The Last Airbender, you always see, you know, the 4 nations, but it's like, but this is clearly only half of the world. Like, there's another side of the world on the other side of this map, you know? So yeah, so we don't know where else, you know, pretty much where else the his country could be, but I guess there's the question, though, is that specific to his country, and maybe that has a tie to Asta, or is it just a coincidence that the two of them have this very similar power, you know? Because, I mean, you know, obviously there are plenty of wind users out there that aren't related to Yuno, you know? There's a lot of magic variants, while also a lot of magic similarities, you know? So, I guess it could just be that it's just, well, you know, like, because it wouldn't make sense if everyone from, you know, Japan could use dark magic, but you know what I like, though, in some of these shows or some of these anime? I do like whenever they create a very specifically European world, and then the author throws in one Japanese character. It's the funniest thing to me. Attack on Titan did this as well with Mikasa, and you know they basically showed when they started going to the outside worlds, like, oh yeah, well, the Japanese, they're not the bad guys. Everyone else on Earth is the bad guys, but the Japanese, they're pretty good. Although I think even that didn't fully stick. They're the not as bad as everyone else people in Attack on Titan. And I always thought that was really funny. That it's just like, you've made this so distinctly European. Now, granted, in Attack on Titan, you know, once they start going into the outside world more, you see more than, you know, it's not just European or Japanese. Like, you know, they do a lot more, you know, once you start going out into the world. Here, it really is contained to this very, you know, Europe-coded continent. And also, there's one Japanese dude here, you know? But I kind of like that. I like that they just kind of throw that in. It would be like if I, you know, it would be like if I made a story about, you know, I guess it would be like if I made a story about, like, South America, you know? And, like, or, no, not about South America, but it was very, like, South America coded, essentially. Like, you get some of these, like, different kingdoms. Maybe one is like Brazil, one's like Chile, one's like Argentina, one's like Colombia, and all these is like, you know, it's sort of mixing these cultures into this sort of South American coded thing. And then there was just one dude who was white, you know? I just put in one dude. He's not the main guy. He's not a hero, but he's, you know, maybe he's a good dude, you know? He's just like, well, I'm just kind of out of place. Doesn't matter. So, I don't know. Granted, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of stories like that, where it's like, yes, we're going to take, you know, all this ethnically diverse story, let's stick a white guy in there, and it's like, well, but you know what I mean, so, but yeah, so that's interesting. I actually like also, too, using the Dweller Sword as well, which, it's kind of ridiculous that it's taken him this long to figure that out. Granted, he's had to really figure out how to use, you know, the black form and everything, but yeah, it's like, honestly, I feel like the Dweller Sword is almost underutilized, you know? And, see, what I thought he was going to do was honestly just pull from the natural mana into the Dweller Sword and use that, but instead he's literally pooling his anti-magic. So, in a sense, anti-magic is a quantifiable thing, you know? It's like antimatter. If there is matter, there is antimatter. If there is magic, there is anti-magic. So, it's kind of an interesting thing, just sort of quantifying that and making it, you know, it's not just a property of these swords, you know, just something like a coat of paint that gets put over these swords when Asta gets them, but it's specifically that, you know, you can use that with the different properties of these swords, you know? Which, for the Dweller Sword, that means pooling that energy and releasing it, like the fucking Master Sword, basically. And presumably then, he could also use that with the Destroyer Sword, you know? Because the Destroyer Sword was unique compared to the other two, you know? Like, it was more of a widespread thing, which is why it became such a necessity for him to have during the conflict, the last conflict. So with that, it's like it makes sense, you know, try and use that. I will say though, it does kind of make you wonder. It's like, so what exactly is the speciality of the Slayer Sword? You know, now the Slayer Sword, he's obviously used it the most, and I guess at the very least, it's the Black Divider, Because it is his main sword, it doesn't have necessarily a unique gimmick. Like, the other two are still anti-magic, He can still use those to negate and nullify magic. But he is so used to the Slayer sword, and he can use that with Black Divider and everything. So he can... I guess that's the one he's put the most time into, while the other two are sort of specialty swords. So... like I said last time, he needs to be dual-handing this, dual-swording this, and he is now. So he can use the Slayer sword as sort of a main offensive weapon, but he can now use the Dweller sword as a ranged attack. Which I've been saying for a long time. The kid needs a ranged attack, So that's pretty interesting. I like that. And again, the fact that the fact that, showing that with Yami at the same time, and just showing it's like, yeah, they're basically picking up what the other one does, So now Yami can nullify magic, and Asta can, use these long-range attacks like Yami does. So I like that. And then there's everyone else. Leo, we're definitely going to have like an episode or something on Leo. Why is Leo is hesitating so much? And it really is because he keeps comparing himself. He keeps comparing himself to his siblings that are twice his age, Like, that really is the thing, is they are twice his age. So, yeah, of course they're going to be a lot further along than you are. You're only 15. But at the same time, I like now that they're kind of thinking, like, okay, what are your strengths? Because that is kind of the problem, is that he's trying to be Fuego Leon. He's trying to be Mario Leona. And he needs to focus on him. He is Leopold, So he needs to figure that out. And I do like, just immediately it's like, hey, let's work on endurance. You seem to, like, maybe it should be, instead of, being a cannon that can just shoot fucking everything, maybe he needs to be more of a tank, A tank with offensive capabilities, no doubt. But still, maybe being a tank, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But yeah, they're all improving. They're all improving, which is good. I still want to see how Nero fights. I genuinely, like, what does that... How do you do that, But we're really getting into it now. We're really getting into it. I'm excited to see where we're going. And yeah, just the fact that we finally see the Spade Kingdom. And again, the fact that I called exactly what it was going to look like. But they're making, like, spider robot things. Like, what are they doing? Like, this is going to be wacky. And I kind of like that, but we finally got this to see the Spade Kingdom. That's got me kind of excited. Which, when did this original run finish? Like how many years have you guys been waiting? Like, I'm pretty lucky that that I know it's starting up again this October. But how long were you guys waiting to continue this? Because I think, if I were to guess, what we're doing is that we're basically going up to the beginning of the Spade Kingdom confrontation, and then they pretty much were like, okay, we have to stop. We have to stop and regroup and, get everything down again before we can come back. And now, finally, they are coming back in 2026, but yeah, it's like, that must have been killer. And also, not only just regroup, make sure that we can do this the best we can, but also they had to let the manga keep going, which only just recently ended, which I heard about. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but yeah, just, I know that it just recently wrapped up. So that was probably the other thing, is like, we're pretty much out of source material. We've caught up too soon, and now we have to stop. So yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm really excited. Like, just seeing the Spade Kingdom at the end has gotten me really excited for the next confrontation. And especially, too, because it's kind of a weird thing, because it's really strange, because once they defeat Ron the Devil, you can kind of say, like, that's a good enough story right there. Like, we didn't need to keep going. Like, that pretty much resolved everything that this show was doing. Like, every plot thread was pretty much resolved after that. But they kept going, and I've just kind of been, sitting here over the past, like, 20, 30 episodes, like, okay, we're obviously watching good stuff, but I am just kind of like, what are we doing? Are we like it almost feels like we're kind of spinning our wheels here, and it's like, well, we kind of finished the story already, but now Now I'm seeing it. Now I'm getting excited, especially seeing the Spade Kingdom there. It's like, okay, we're going to get a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of really cool fights, cool villains, definitely. And I'm very, very excited to see where we are going with it. But man, I could not imagine watching this when it came out and then just being like, all right, we are going to come back later. I don't know. Now, granted, if I wasn't reacting to it at the time, I think I may have just gone and read the manga. I do tend to do that sometimes. Sometimes with like romance animes where I'm like, okay, either this is not getting another season or it's not getting another season anytime soon. So I go and read the manga. I actually after season 2 of My Dress Up Darling, Cloverworks was like, yeah, we don't have any plans right now to do season 3, and I was like, what the fuck? And I looked it up, and it was like 40 more chapters that they had left to adapt. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go read it. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And that probably would be where I would be after, episode 170, where it's just like, okay, we are going to come back someday to finish this, but we have to stop now. We have to stop, we have to regroup, we have to let the manga, finish before we can come back. And I think at that point I would have switched over to reading the manga. So... but I don't know. How did you guys deal with it? Were you there during what I'm going to call the wilderness years of Black Clover? At least the Black Clover anime, because you still had the manga going on. But yeah, what was that like? If any of you were there, I'll be curious. So yeah, good stuff, and I'm really excited to see where we are going next time. But that is basically it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Black Clover reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.